Yes, sir.
Let's be brisk.
That's all we need. We'll call the February 7, 2022 meeting of Greenwood Board of Public Works and Safety to order at 5:30 p.m. A roll call, please, Amanda.
Mr. Rutherford.
Here.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Thank you.
Minutes of the last session of January 19, 2022, been distributed to members of the board. Any corrections, additions, or deletions from staff? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval as presented?
I'll move we approve the minutes as presented. Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. First on our agenda tonight is Donna Ferguson at 2698 Ashton Lane. Good evening. If you wouldn't mind to stand up to our podium so we can hear you. Good evening, Ms. Ferguson. Tell us what you'd like to do here.
We would like to fence our backyard.
We've got a little bit of an encroachment request for your fence. Did you receive a memo, Ms. Ferguson, dated January 24th from our Community Development Services representative?
Yes, we
It had 4 conditions that they recommended. Did you have any problem with any of those conditions?
did not.
Any questions for Ms. Ferguson? All got a memo from John Thompson in front of us. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move for approval with those stipulations. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Ms. Ferguson, that's fairly easy. You should be getting some minutes will come out, and then you'll be able to get those from our clerk.
Will they be sent to me?
But yes, I can email them to you.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Next on our agenda is Brooks Chumley from 5386 Camden Lane. Is anyone here for this matter? Anyone online? Let's, Daniel, we have a memo in front of us from Jeff Weaver. Do you know anything more about that? What's presented?
The memo and the attachments were emailed earlier this afternoon. Those are the only conditions there, the 4 conditions.
These appear to be the typical conditions that we require of those who are making an encroachment request. Any questions for Daniel or any other issues or comments from anybody on the board?
I move that we approve the request subject to those conditions outlined in the report. Second.
Even second or further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Shell, good evening.
Not sure which one. One or twice, I'm sure which one's first.
Okay.
So, it's not before I get to the point.
Okay, this is what I have first. The DPW building,
Yes.
okay?
John Shell, work address is 300 South Madison, Greenwood, Indiana. I work in the CDS project manager. Part of the building, the DPW building, we found a water main, which was not where it was believed to be. And so the way Indiana American Water does this is they graciously ask the developer, or in this case, the city of Greenwood, to relocate that main. After we spend the money to relocate it, so that they can maintain it, they ask for us to dedicate it back to them. And previously, they would then see that as income for their company, and they would charge you the tax rate so that you had to pay the taxes on it also. Well, apparently state law has changed, and you no longer have to do that, so we don't have to pay the taxes on this. All we're doing is transferring ownership to them. And this is a copy of their transfer of ownership form. And here today to ask Board of Public Works and Safety for approval to, for you to authorize the mayor to sign this on the city's behalf.
John, what's the $139,000 change amount?
That is the city's estimated cost of what it costs to relocate this main.
Questions for Mr. Shelton? Mr. Hudson, this is
Yes.
according to your recommendation. I'll move that we authorize and direct the mayor to sign on behalf of this transfer of ownership of developer installed maintenance.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Now on to your next matter.
Yeah, back 7 years or so ago, the city bought the first drone that the city owned. And that drone met an untimely end. The pilot, who shall at this meeting remain nameless, found a wire. It landed rather quickly, about 90 feet. And so we went out and purchased another drone, a similar drone, replaced it. And as time went on, the batteries got to be expensive to replace. So we decided rather than just having a routine replacement of batteries, we would research. And about this time, I think it was the time that Molly had gotten her drone license also. So we researched it and we found a different brand that we recommended to the deputy mayor that we purchase. Well, we have the carcass of one drone, and then we also have another one which hasn't flown in several years. And both take up they're in a rather substantial case in my office, and the city's not really using them. So the one is truly trash. It's a 20 or so pieces. The other one, it probably has some value, of which I have no idea how much. But I'm coming to see if we can dispose of both these pieces of property. They don't have a property tag number on them or anything, but it's items that the city paid in the neighborhood of $1,500 for each of them.
So what I think maybe what you're asking is that these items can be disposed of as no longer meeting their intended use and purpose.
Correct.
And then you can dispose of the one that might have some value as you guys see fit.
Yeah, well, we will research to see how good the second one is. We still will fly it at least. Stuff and see talk to the mayor's office and see how they would like to proceed.
I'll move for approval.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, John. Is Molly going to fly this one?
She's flown the other one, it still flies, so I
She's had some great results with that.
Okay, we have to name the pilot.
Yeah, because we're all thinking it was you.
Well,
That's what I'm saying is,
the first one crashed before she had her license and was flying the drone. So
Thank
it's an unknown pilot.
Okay,
You
we'll leave it at that then.
were blushing, Molly.
She's blushing on
So I
my
thought it was
behalf.
you.
Oh,
Let me tell you, well, I guess the one thing I will say about it, it's a humbling experience to walk into the deputy's mayor's office and say, I messed up.
under any circumstance, let alone with
Oh, I
That's
know,
true.
in his office, he's very congenial, but when you just done something stupid, it's a tough walk.
with that, we'll pass on to Ms. Vest. Evening, Lisa.
I don't have a drone, so you don't have to worry about any
Yeah,
of that.
you're so
You can give it
lucky.
to Jean Crawford or anything like that, crush anything. Okay, so I'm here in front of you this evening for consideration of an amended job description. This would be the planner position in the CDS department. The change that was given to me was in the job purpose. They added enforcing the Unified Development Ordinance into the purpose. And then in the body of the job description on the second page, under duties and responsibilities, they added inspect properties within the city for compliance and zoning regulations. So there were a couple of additions to the planner position within CDS for this year, 2022.
Questions from Ms. Best? Here now, I'll move that we approve the amended planner job description.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Lisa. Have a good evening.
You also.
Mr. Cofer,
Yes, sir.
good evening. We know we've got some things for you to talk to us about. Let's start with Collins Road and Graham Road improvements.
Okay, perfect. Yep, so we've got the Collins and Graham Road improvements that we completed with the FedEx facility that was out there. Those were completed, inspected, accepted, and so now we are looking to get acceptance of those improvements and release of those performance guarantees.
Question, anything different than what we've got in our memo from Paul Pion? And
No, just the one condition.
questions for Sean on this one?
I move we approve subject to that condition. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Sean, now let's move to Greenwood intersection improvements project.
Okay, yep, so that is the intersection improvements. So that was the intersections that we upgraded also with the FedEx project and in relation to the rezone that we did. So that would be the, let's see, this one is the Allen and Graham intersection where we widened that, put in stop signs. And then Collins Road and Worsville Road where we adjusted the traffic signals and also widened that out.
Daniel,
And I guess the last one that's on there, it's also in the center, it's the next item, but I can at least talk about it. It is the Graham Road and Main Street, where those two come together, that intersection to the far north that we also did.
Daniel, both of these are similar
Yes.
issues and just the only conditions to receive the Mylar and digital as-bills. Let's do the Greenwood intersection improvements project for Allen Road and Graham Road first.
I'll move to approve the one on Allen and Graham with the receipt of the Mylar and digital as.
And I guess Collins and Worsville too.
And columns and.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now Sean's told us about the one of Graham and Maine for the FedEx site. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved. Subject to those conditions, for that one condition.
Second, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Sean, let's move on to, I think, maybe your last one on tonight, Project Boilermaker.
Yep, this is the last one for tonight, but I'm sure you guys will see a lot more of me as we're getting all these finished up. So Project Boilermaker, also known as it was Pitney Bowes Nugistics building out there. This one had been hanging out there for a while. We finally kind of got everything buttoned up. So this one has acknowledge of the completion of the improvements with the as-built and everything, and then acceptance of those. And then we do have acceptance of maintenance guarantees. So we have 2 maintenance guarantees for this that are being accepted to replace the performance guarantees and then the release of the performance guarantees.
And as far as we've been told, this is an unconditional approval.
That's
correct?
correct.
I'll move for approval as presented.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Sean, thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Mr. Riddle, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Kevin. We're
Evening.
going to talk a lot about Briarstone tonight. Let's start with section 1.
Well, we're trying to do some cleaning up some bonds for the city's purpose and Arbor's purpose for section 1. All these maintenance bonds have basically have already expired, and we've done field inspections to make sure there's nothing been needed. But section 1 is for curbs, stone streets, for stone base and binder, sanitary sewers, and dirt work and storm.
This is again a non-conditional, non-conditional approval.
I'll move for approval as presented.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Firestone section 1 is unanimously approved. Kevin, section 2.
Section 2 is kind of the same thing, or just a couple more bonds. I can read through the bonds if you'd like me to.
I think we've all got the memo in front of us, so that won't be necessary unless you just
Okay.
read to us. Again, unconditional approval. Is there a motion for approval of this matter?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now down to section 3.
Section 3 is the same as the previous two.
I'll move for approval of section 3.
There is a condition on that one, receipt of Mylar and digital aspects.
There is. Not on mine.
Really?
There shouldn't be.
Never
Not
mind.
on mine. We're just
These
trying to keep
are-
you on your toes, Sean.
Yeah. these are-
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second that. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And section 4.
Section 4 is, we'll continue with rolling along.
And no conditions. I'll move for approval of the Briarstone section 4.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Go on to 5.
5 and 6 are just continuations of what we've been doing.
Section 5.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move.
Hang on, we'll get there. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now, I think we know what our motion is going to be for section 6.
I move we approve sections, Firestone section 6.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Kevin, we did a lot of work for you this evening. But have a good evening. Thank you,
And I
sir.
appreciate it.
Take care, my friend.
You too. Have a good evening, you guys.
Next on our agenda is Landworks Engineering on Greenwood Sports Park. Benjamin, are you with us?
I am. Can we just call mine section 7 and call it a day?
Yeah, we are on a roll.
Good
Yeah.
one.
There you go.
Tell us
Very
what's
good.
going on.
My name is Ben Hool. I'm the civil engineer for the Greenwood Sports Park in coordination with Mater Design out there and working with Rob and his crew. You can see the project site there on the left, and on the right is a rendering that was put together by Mater. What we're asking for today is a waiver from the stormwater quantity requirements. Essentially, we would like to, instead of having detain down to the 0.1, 0.3, I think it is, or 0.2 and 0.4 for the 10-year and 100-year, we would like to detain down to the existing conditions. The reasons behind that are a couple. On the south west corner of the site that's not colored in, there's an existing constructed wetlands that was put there by NDOT when they did their prior improvements for the intersection. The wetlands by law have to have the same amount of water going to them at all times. We can't adjust that even if we develop around it. We're not allowed to detain and then only put less water into that wetlands. It's got to stay the same amount. So we've designed it to be able to do that. Additionally, for the area to the north and Grassy Creek, which runs along the west side of our property there, Grassy Creek collects water from the north and continues down under Wurtsville Road, and detaining water on our site and then releasing it could actually have a detrimental effect to the peak for the amount of water that comes on into Grassy Creek downstream. So imagine if we detain water and we hold it on site, but in the meantime, it's raining up north and it gets more and more water coming down through the creek, and we release our water into that right as that hits its peak. So it actually can have a detrimental effect and increase the flood elevation for the creek itself because we're so close to it. So those are the reasonings behind it. There's not a lot of impervious cover on the site. We're keeping it almost all grass and field turf. We are doing a small splash pad. We will be doing some detention to keep it down to existing. And also we will be doing the treatment of that stormwater as well per ordinance through some underground infiltration, as well as a detention pond up there on the north side of the property. So happy to field any questions.
Return to Mr. Jones. Any input from your office, Chris?
No, not as far as quality.
Okay. Pursuant to the Green Municipal Code, we are required to consider the following. The granting of the waiver will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, or welfare, or injurious to other property. That the conditions upon the request for a waiver is based are unique to the property for which the waiver is sought and are not applicable generally to other property. 3, the application of the ordinance and or the manual will present or cause undue hardship for development or development site, provided, however, that undue hardship shall not include the need for the developer to incur reasonable expenses in order to comply with the ordinance and or the manual. And 4, the granting of the requested relief will not substantially prevent the goals and purposes of the ordinance, nor result in less effective management of stormwater runoff or stormwater quality. Considering Benjamin's presentation and those 4 factors, is there a motion for granting or denying this waiver request?
I move that we grant the waiver request. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Ben.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Amanda, do I have, or will we give you?
You have a notice in the register.
Okay, remind me to sign that before we leave. Next, let's go on to anyone from the audience, either in person or online. Let's go online first. Not hearing anybody. Anyone from the audience wish to address us? Okay, let's go to Mr. Hodson with the IDM compliance plan.
It looks like Mr. Chumlin is online. If you want to circle back to that. I know
I think
we
we
were.
already-
We already passed it.
But he did, he wasn't online, he didn't know.
Oh,
Mr. Chumley? Mr. Chumley, are you with us? Well, you'll find out. Okay.
Okay. I tried.
Mr. Hodson, IDM compliance.
You approved the annual report at your last meeting. There's been no activity or incidents report with IDEM.
That's good. And your
Um,
council task.
I'd like to do my walk-ons first, so I don't forget them, please.
Okay.
The first is a generator to serve this building. We proposed to buy that generator from a Caterpillar brand generator from McAllister's. There are only 2 companies that produce generators of this size. This is the lower of the 2 vendors. And the reason why we believe that it is exempt from the public bidding laws is that we would recognize a substantial savings by doing it rather than going through the bid process to the 2 vendors we already know exist. Specifically, we know that this machine will cost us 8% more in a week if we don't execute the contract. A contract this size, I believe we're talking about $34,000 to the process for the delay.
Is there a motion for approval of this matter?
I'll move for approval. Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Next up is a amendment of the termination agreement with the Cummins Corporation. When Cummins was delayed in building its office building, it was in breach of its contract. And we settled with them in a manner where they purchased the real estate that the city acquired for the project for $4.5 million. One of the conditions of that termination agreement was the city had the right to review proposed uses and to repurchase the property if we didn't like the proposed use. What we didn't anticipate was a proposed use that was for less than the old property. Cummins has approached the city with a plan to build a $12 million project, but it only takes 10 acres of the facility, and those 10 acres are on the southwest corner. This termination agreement amendment would leave the remaining 20 acres under the terms and conditions of the original termination agreement, but would allow Cummins to develop the 10 acres as they propose.
Questions for Sam on this termination agreement amendment? Not, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second that. Further this on to if the RDC will consider this maybe tomorrow night if we're able to meet. Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up,
Sam, just interrupt you. Will this get to Mr. Watson tomorrow or?
Yeah. Next up is consideration of annual trash hauling licenses. These are for the permits for trash haulers to do commercial. This is not for the contract for the vendor that does all the residential pickups. And this is for Ray's Trash Service and Strauss Roll-Offs.
Questions for Sam on these two applications?
We take those both same motion or would you require?
Why don't we do it separately first to make it cleaner? Let's do Ray's Trash Service, Donald Matthews for Ray's Trash Service Inc. first.
Second.
Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And now for Strauss Roll-Offs Inc. Is there a motion to approve that?
We're not endorsing one or the other, right?
No, it's just a matter of them. They have to have a permit issued.
I just didn't know, I did their corporate headquarters, built their corporate headquarters. I don't know if that's represents anything.
Well, if we've got two of us left on, why don't you recuse yourself or let us take care of it? I'll second that. Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
The next two items, 22 and 23, are related. It was necessary to have a substantial amount of dirt delivered to the Worsfield Road Sports Complex. And after it was there, it needs to be distributed. The dirt will be delivered by Subsurface of Indiana, with whom we already have a contract. And so that is an amendment to their existing contract, adding $36,000 to the contract. And the number 22 is for NASB Construction, who the city's done business with often. And it is charging $44,000 to level the dirt after it's delivered.
Seems high. It's a lot of dirt.
It is a lot of dirt.
Other questions for Sam? Is there a motion with respect to this matter?
So moved for approval. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up is ratification of interlocal agreement with the town of Whiteland. This was made necessary because the city of Greenwood required a developer to do street improvements that crossed our city limits into Whiteland city limits.
Questions for Sam?
I understand that their requirements are the same, pretty much the same as ours. I move that we approve that in a local agreement authorizing the mayor to sign.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up is consideration of a uniform form to use for right-of-way ticket violations. Currently, it's just done by letters, and we have experienced problems with the letters not being sufficiently precise to take these through. And Shauna created a form to make sure that all the information on one of these citations is given to the property owner.
Looks good. I'll move to approve the form for distribution.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up is consideration of resolution 2202, and this is authorizing the city to participate in the National Purchasing Partners Cooperative. This is an entity that's does a similar thing that Sourcewell, that the city's bought numerous things. The benefit of this is we get a lot better pricing than we do in competitive bidding because we're using the leverage of hundreds of municipalities versus just us.
I'll move that we approve resolution 22-02.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next up is use of our new membership in the National Purchase and Partners Cooperative, and it is for the splash pad at the new park from a vendor called Vortex Aquatic Structures.
That's for the new one now.
Yeah.
I'm going to approve the agreement.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Daniel, I think we're up to you.
All right, I have a number of items. The first one is on Main Street self-storage expansion. This one is pretty straightforward. Accept performance guarantee for dirt work, storm sewer, erosion control. Excuse me, street and sidewalks improvements. Accept and execute general inspection testing agreement, ratify 50% for that project.
Questions from Mr. Jones? There's a no condition attached to it.
That's correct.
I'd move for approval.
Second. Further discussion? None, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Second one is for Big E Coffee. This is not in the Meyer parking lot. Very similar in terms of request, accepting performance guarantee, dirt work, storm sewer, erosion control, street improvement, sidewalk improvements, sign monuments, accepting and executing a general inspection testing agreement, and ratifying the 50% upfront.
Daniel, remind me of where this is precisely going to be.
On the, it's, you kind of see it on the screen. It has it listed in black. So I think it's the entire Meyer property line.
So it's,
In front of my.
Yes.
so like in front of Chick-fil-A.
Kind of
Behind,
Behind Bob Evans.
Yeah, to the west of the Bob Evans restaurant.
Okay, first one is the bank, and the second one is. Okay. Again, no conditions attached to this one. Any questions for Daniel?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next is the 2021 Railroad Grade Crossing Fund, specifically closure at Academy Street in the old town of Greenwood. You recall a number of meetings ago, I think before you requested permission to seek bids for this work. We had a bid opening just last week. Even though we had 5 companies take the bid packet, only one submitted a bid. Morphe Construction with a base bid price of $37,280. This project was originally, the city did receive an original grant of $35,000 from NDOT for this work. So we will be working with the finance department to determine the proper funding source for the remaining amount. This work will be completed in 2022. So our request is to acknowledge that Morphe Construction as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and to award this contract to Morphe Construction in the amount of $37,280 for this project. Authorizing the mayor to sign on the board's behalf, subject to the condition of just identifying the funding for the additional.
Mr. I can find that for you, I'm sure. Further questions? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next is our contract, professional services agreement related to our 2022 PASER update for our pavement asset management plan. First Group Engineering has been assisting the city the last number of years that we have done this. And so for every other year, we actually do a complete review of all the city streets And then on the off years, we updated based on the streets that were worked on for that year. So this year will be a complete evaluation of all the city streets. Total cost of this work is $28,000, $28,900. And so that would be our motion to enter into PSA with First Group Engineering for this project.
How significant of an increase was that over 2 years ago when we last did it complete? Remember?
It was in the same ballpark.
Probably got a few more miles of streets.
We do, and I'm sure there's also some efficiencies just as we have built up the database of all of our roads.
Pleasure report.
Move for approval.
I'll second that. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next, Barbersville utility easement. The city was approached by the town of Barbersville concerning or requesting a non-exclusive easement for the Barbersville water utility. This would be located at near the intersection of Honey Creek Road and Stones Crossing. Our Worsville Road Section 2 project has a proposed roundabout there that will also include a dry detention pond in the northwest corner. If you think out there right now is the existing two-stage ditch. There's a wooden fence there. So this utility easement, 20-foot wide utility easement would go in between the fence and this future dry detention pond. Diagonal at the corner, basically, Barbersville has a current easement that actually is the entire west side of Honey Creek Road. So this new alignment would eliminate any conflicts with the roundabout or the dry detention pond. We coordinate with the city legal staff. There is a statutory process that we need to follow for this. I kind of line out some of the key steps there in the memo. The first step tonight is to request the board to authorize staff to seek proposals for the appraisals or appraising services. We will work with finance staff to determine the funding source for that effort. And then prior to proceeding with that, we'll come back to the board of works to approve the actual value determination.
So that's all we're asking us tonight to consider is authorizing appraisal services to be
Go out and seek proposals.
Is that a legal drain? Through there?
Honey Creek, yes.
And that area is in the floodway probably or fringe.
I think the easement is outside. The two-stage ditch is within the floodway. I think what they've identified as their alignment is outside.
So when they developed that subdivision, forgive me, I don't know the name of that subdivision, but was this part of that original parent tract, do you know?
The easement or?
Yeah, what I'm getting at is when it was subdivided, was this already considered a drainage and utility easement, all as one big parcel?
No.
Was not? So that's why we have to appraise it, purchase.
Yeah, we purchased it separately because it pretty much left, once the roundabout was going to come in, it made the rest of the tract unbuildable. So that's why we the two-stage ditch.
So there was a section of it that was buildable at one point in time.
Yes, up
Yeah.
by the road,
Okay.
the intersection.
That's okay.
Questions?
I move that we approve and authorize to seek proposals for appraising services.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next on is our related to the city's Honey Creek Road Bridge 620. Just right next to the utility easement there. We were talking about the project limits will be north of the future roundabout at Stones Crossing and Creek. There's also going to be some improvements, road lane widening, shoulder widening, and also construction of a conspan arch bridge over Honey Creek. Crossroad Engineers has designed the project. So the construction will be funded by the Stormwater Board. Motion tonight is to authorize staff to advertise for bid for this project.
So moved.
Second, but I've got a question. Would the county be responsible for that bridge?
Normally, yes. We spoke with the county several years ago, and said they didn't have any plans to improve these culverts at any time, so we took it upon, Stormwater took it upon themselves to get the design and finance the project.
Then do you have to dedicate that to the county, or do they take over maintenance of it?
We will, once it's complete.
Okay. That was nice of them. Let's pay for that.
There's also a title sheet there for signatures. from the board.
Okay.
Motion.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So these are the people you're gonna go work for, Dan?
You're welcome. Next item, Burger King at Preston South Business Center. This is requesting the board to authorize the mayor or deputy mayor to sign on the board's behalf the O&M manual for the water quality for this project.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And then my last item is actually a ratification of the annual renewal contract with Azteca Systems LLC. That's the company that creates the software CityWorks that the city uses significantly for our asset management permitting processes. The current 3-year agreement ends on February 28, 2022. Back in January, they sent us a 1-year renewal quote for $100,800. That was already included in the city's budget for 2022. The city, we did sign that quote, return it back to them, and it was in the actual invoice to be processed. The costs, the annual costs are split 3 ways: the general fund, sanitation fund, and the stormwater fund, 3 equal parts. So the motion is to ratify the city's approval of the quote for $100,800, and also authorize the staff to process and pay the invoice as it is a line item for the city's general fund for 2022, but also to authorize staff to coordinate with Azteca regarding potential subsequent multi-year agreements.
What do you mean about subsequent?
So we've had a 3-year agreement from 2016 to 2019, another 3-year agreement from 2019 to 2022. But they didn't send us a 3-year, they just sent us a 1-year renewal.
But the 1-year renewal amount on this contract is the same as the, I guess, the annualized for the last one. That was
It's
in our
actually
budget,
the
100,800.
the fee this year now actually brings us up to what the fee should be. The prior 3-year agreement actually stair-stepped us. The fee is based on the city's population, and we're in their next higher population tier for price. So 3 years ago, they wanted to increment over 3 years time period. So now we're at what it should be for annually based on the city's population. I don't know if that answers the question.
So we're trying to get a 3-year agreement.
If they want to do another 3-year agreement, I think the city would be fine with that. If they want to do 1-year agreements, the city would be fine with that.
But at some point, we're going to negotiate what those rates are.
Yes.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Sorry, I didn't do motion and second.
I made the motion, Mr. Colvin seconded.
Okay.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear it. You did the previous two items, but I didn't hear it on this one. Okay.
I did.
Okay.
I don't think.
Daniel,
That's fine. That was it.
thank you for your service here. Appreciate that. I understand you're leaving in a couple days. I wish you well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Remember us fondly. Things come down there. Remember who your friends were here.
They probably won't let you build any around it.
Pay for your own bridges. The last free one just got approved.
Mr. Wright, anything from your office? Okay, thank you.
So I will move for approval of the claims as presented.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll stand adjourned, folks, at 6:15 PM. Thank you all.